Hi, and thank you for taking the time to watch this training video on how to complete the Home Rent Review Approval Form. The Home Rent Review Approval Form, or HRR form, and all documents must be submitted via the Emphasis Certification Portal no later than September 30th, 2023. This short video will cover the following topics. A, who needs to fill out the Home Rent Review form and why? B, how to locate the 2023 Home Rent Review form. C, how to complete the 2023 Home Rent Review form. D, a review of the instructions. E, a review of the submission requirements. And F, a list of resources and links to those resources. So first, let's talk about who needs to fill out the Home Rent Review form and why. As an owner or property manager acting on behalf of the owner, both of which will be described as owner from here on out, you are responsible and accountable for the compliance of home-assisted units throughout the period of affordability, according to 24 Code of Federal Regulations 92. Failure to comply with home requirements can result in a number of corrective actions, including suspension of future home awards to the owner. Therefore, it is critical that owners of home-assisted property meet the requirements of DCA by correctly completing the Home Rent Review form by the deadline of September 30th, 2023. Regardless of the type of ownership, property size or location, and who carries out property management functions, the long-term affordability requirements apply equally to all home-assisted housing. Note here that some property owners are subject to additional rules beyond the home requirements due to the use of other funding in a project's acquisition or development. Please be mindful of those requirements when completing this form. If you need more guidance beyond the instructions on this form, please refer to the DCA Low Income Housing Tax Credit and Home Compliance Manual. Next, I will take you step by step through how to locate the 2023 Home Rent Review Approval Form on the DCA website. Here are the steps at a glance to locate the form for future reference. First, head over to the DCA website at www.dca.ga.gov. Once you arrive to the website, click on Programs as seen here. Next, click on the tile that says Safe and Affordable Housing. Once you arrive at the page that says Safe and Affordable Housing, scroll down to Rental Housing Development. Once you reach Rental Housing Development, click on the link that says Compliance Monitoring, as seen here. Next, click on the Home Program tile. You're almost there. Now, scroll down to the 2023 Home Rent Review Form. Click on the link to open the form. You've made it to the form. Great. A few things to note here. Each year, a new form is released by DCA. The home limits are released July 15th. The home rent approval period runs from July 15th of the current year to July 14th of the next year. Okay, so now that we know where to find the 2023 Home Rent Review Approval Form, let's review how to complete it. Start by reading all of the instructions on page 1. Links to the home rent limits and home income limits can be found here. You are required to complete the cover page, page 1, and the worksheet on page 2 in its entirety and submit it via the Emphasis Certification Portal no later than September 30th, 2023. On page 1, when filling out the project information, please be sure that the project address field on the form matches the property address in Emphasis. When you have finished entering the year of the rent limits used to complete the form, all project funding types, if applicable, and the project information, sign and print using the name of the person who reviewed the form, and date using the current date, as in the date the form was completed. The small box at the bottom of page 1 is for DCA use only. Next, you are going to move on to the worksheet on page 2. From the top, and again, the project name needs to match what is in emphasis. Next, the Georgia ID number needs to match emphasis. The unique property identification number assigned to a project is called the Georgia Identification Number, or Georgia ID, and begins with a 4-digit year and ends in 3 digits. For example, 2019-000. Here you will find the instructions for layered funding, home lease requirements, and utility allowances. For a project layered with tax credit and home, be sure to review your Land Use Restriction Agreement, or your LURA, for your property requirements and provide a copy to DCA. Follow the instructions for tax credit and home here. For a project layered with project-based rental assistance, or PBRA, contracts and home, list only the home units with PBRA rental assistance on the form and complete a separate form for all other home units without PBRA and follow the instructions here. You do not need to list out the Housing Choice Voucher units. Next, review the home lease requirements to ensure your lease or leases meet the compliance policy for rent increases and notifications of rent increases to DCA and tenants. Lastly, review the instructions on utility allowances. Not all projects have utility allowances, but most projects do. Remember, utility allowance is part of gross rent, and gross rent is made up of the utility allowance, the tenant portion, and other non-optional charges. The utility allowance schedule you provide to DCA must first be the method that is approved on the final allocation application or through a utility allowance methodology change previously approved by DCA. If a utility allowance methodology change was approved, please submit the approval with your documentation. Second, you must make sure that the proper utilities are chosen and reconciled to the final allocation application that shows which utilities are tenant paid. For more than one utility schedule applied to home units, complete a separate home rent request form showing the specific utility allowance information from each schedule. A few things to note here are the final rule of 2013 stated that any award given after August 2013 cannot use the DCA utility allowance schedule for home units. Home must be based on the actual consumption of utilities, which is going to be the HUD utility schedule model, the energy consumption model, or the utility company estimate. Be sure you are using the correct method of calculation. All resources are linked at the end of the presentation. Once page 1, the cover page, and page 2, the worksheet, have been completed in their entirety, review the full list of forms to be submitted along with your home rent review submission. There may be up to 8 attachments to upload. One thing to note here is if you need to confirm whether or not the National Rural Non-Metropolitan Limits, or NNMI, from the Department of Agriculture apply, click on the link to the Department of Agriculture first. Scroll down to the bottom of that page to check eligibility. Select multifamily housing and enter the property address. Once you confirm eligibility, you can go to the Novogradac Rent and Income Limit Calculator. linked in the presentation to retrieve the NNMI limits for the project. If the project is in a rural county, the calculator will prompt you to confirm that it is in fact located in a rural area, which can only be confirmed through the Department of Agriculture. Please note that the Novogradic calculator defaults to the LIHTC program, and you have the option to select home rents while pulling LIHTC rents. However, just selecting this box will not pull all the home limits, only low and high home. The 30% home limit is not the same as the 30% limit under the LIHTC income limits, and it's not the same as low home. To find the 30% and other deeper set-asides, change the program on the first page of the Novogradic calculator to Other Programs and write in the deeper percentages. We kindly ask that you do not submit your documents as one PDF document. This is laborious on our staff, as they are then tasked with separating and renaming each document in the singular PDF submitted. Therefore, if possible, please take the time to upload each document separately and name it accordingly so that a DCA staff member can identify the document by the file name. Be sure that you are uploading and saving each document submitted through the Emphasis Certification Portal. And that's it. Please find here a list of all the resources referenced in this video. This is not an exhaustive list of resources. Therefore, please use all of the resources available to you. If you need assistance with locating any resources or help interpreting any of the content within, please reach out to compliance@dca.ga.gov. Again, that's compliance@dca.ga.gov. Thank you so much for your time and attention. It was such a pleasure guiding you through the 2023 Home Rent Review Approval Form. Please be sure to check out our compliance blasts for upcoming trainings.